Thank you very much, Dr. DiPietro. Graduates, it is because of you that we are all here today. We extended an invitation to students this year to submit an entry to be the college's first ever student commencement speaker. This year we received many wonderful entries that express the experience of the arts and sciences student. Our graduation speaker this year is Samuel Ellis. Hailing from Knoxville, Tennessee, Sam is a double major in political science and English, and it is my pleasure to introduce the 2012 student commencement speaker, Samuel Ellis.
Whew. Is this early enough for y'all? You know, it was tempting when writing this speech to just write a nice 5-minute pat on the back for you, for me, for our parents, for raising us to be educated and worldly scholars. I know it would have at least made getting up at 6 a.m. a little more bearable, but I thought I'd be doing us a disservice if we really just called this the end. So I let my pen get away from me and ended up thinking about some of the less obvious implications of graduating today. Like many of you, I first came to UT in the fall of 2008, and the 4 years since have been the absolute best of my life. And I'm convinced that a good bit of that happiness stemmed from my having made some fairly uncomfortable decisions in my time here. And I'm not uncomfortable in an awkward first date or a atomic wedgie kind of way. More uncomfortable in a these are the first real decisions I've ever made in my life kind of way. You see, before college, I never really made decisions at all. I mean, sure, I decided to go to class, I decided to make good grades, to be involved in extracurriculars, and to apply to the University of Tennessee. But truthfully, it was all just for lack of alternative. I wasn't sure why, I just knew what was normal, what I'd seen others do, and what was expected of me. In short, I lacked conviction. I lacked conviction because I was ignorant of its value, because of what it meant to actually own my decisions. And though it's something I certainly still struggle with, I now do so with probably just a little bit more perspective. Obviously, conviction is important. But for whatever reason, it's becoming rarer and rarer in our generation's collective decision-making. In its stead, we're substituting things like comfort, convenience, financial gain, or even others' expectations. Most of us are young men and women drawn to the idea of success, but sort of unsure about how to get there. And even though this trend can afflict anybody at any time, I would argue that the most fertile ground for this sort of behavior and thought is the time immediately following college graduation. You see, as an age group, we're probably more susceptible than any to the pull of today's success-oriented culture. And I think it's pretty clear why. We, more than any generation before us, have opportunity. Almost too much opportunity, actually. We're young, we're in our early 20s. Our canvas is empty, and even though we have the entire palette at our disposal, we still daydream exclusively in shades of Rolls-Royce white, Brooks Brothers navy, Ben Franklin green. We've been taught that success is perfectly accessible, but that perhaps the path leading to it is one paved with something other than our specific dreams. You know, this culture distracts us, and it tries to convince us that success requires some kind of sacrifice. It basically tries to convince us that we don't have a say in our own livelihood. And we fall for it. There are people in this world, at this university, and very likely in this very room, who don't know why they went to college, don't know the value of their own education, and don't even really know what they meant when they told their friends they wanted to one day be successful. I've seen some of the brightest, some of the strongest, and some of the most resolute people declare majors in which they haven't the slightest interest, join student organizations whose very beliefs contradict their own, and time again sacrifice what might have been their life's very purpose. There was a dog, it was a greyhound, a track dog, who quit racing at the peak of his game. And a man asked the dog, "Dog, how come you're not racing anymore? Are you too old?" "Well, no," said the dog. I'm certainly young enough to continue racing." "Well, were you losing?" asked the man. Is that why you quit racing?" "Oh, no," said the dog. "In fact, I won every race up until the day I quit racing." Well, confused, the man asked, "Well, then why aren't you racing anymore, dog?" And the dog replied, "Because one day I realized the rabbit I was chasing wasn't real." You know, if we're going to be making decisions out there, then we need to make sure first and foremost that the rabbit is real. We need to make sure it won't leave us unhappy or disturb our priorities. We need to keep it original, and we need to own it. And it's never too late, regardless of where you thought you might be in 4 years. You know, life without conviction is literally not worth it. So let's take it. Let's own it. Let's be it. And I promise you, nothing's more essential. You know, they say the compromise of one generation will lead to the complacency of the next, but I look around and I think we're probably just a bit too extraordinary for that. You know, I'm not sure if I've said it yet, but congratulations, class of 2012. Let's go own it.
Thank you, Sam. We are so pleased that you were here today to speak to your classmates.